The wait is nearly over. Nintendo has officially announced the Switch 2, and its release is hopefully just around the corner. It's been nearly 8 years since the incredible launch window for the first Switch, which could arguably be one of, if not the best, launch window of all time. Already basically confirmed for the launch window of the Switch 2 is the first brand new numbered Mario Kart game in a decade, which could potentially have up to 24 races for the first time in series history. And I hope the new Pokemon and Metroid games might just sneak their way into becoming platform launch titles as well, despite them both already using the original Switch branding in their announcements. It's probably the best case scenario for Pokemon at least, since we've already seen how bad the recent games ran on the original Switch. And hopefully new hardware can breathe some new life into the series. Even if it is gonna just be a Switch 1 release, the benefits of the new hardware should still be felt through backwards compatibility. Or perhaps they will do a last-minute cross-gen release, akin to Breath of the Wild on the Wii U and the Switch. With upgraded graphics capabilities said to be similar to the PS4 and Xbox One, whilst having newer technologies, maybe even DLSS, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of graphical fidelity the handheld mode will be able to output. This should also help some of the current Switch games run better through backwards compatibility, so surely those last Pokemon games will run at more than 20 FPS on it, right? Considering how Nintendo's managed to create some gorgeous visuals on the original Switch, I think it could be really exciting to see what they can achieve with a much beefier set of hardware. So if you're brand new to the channel, it would be appreciated if you left a like on the video if you enjoy it, and subscribe. We're getting close to 400 subscribers, and you'll of course be able to catch our future videos on the Switch 2 and a wide variety of topics. So back to the video. Apart from the general hardware upgrades and battery life improvements we're going to get, there's a few different things I'm hoping we're going to be able to get for the Switch 2 at launch. The first thing I'm hoping for is just a new 3D Mario game. It's been 8 years since the last out-and-out 3D Mario outing, and almost 4 years since Bowser's Fury was included alongside the Switch port of 3D World. To put this into context for the franchise, it's the longest gap between 3D Mario games since Mario 64 from 1996 and Sunshine from 2002. Whether it's Odyssey 2, a sequel to a legacy sub-series, or a new title, there's a high standard to meet after Odyssey's success. You know what I would personally love the next 3D Mario to be? Mario Galaxy 3. Imagine combining the theme and art direction from the two Mario Galaxy games with the evolution of open-world exploration of Mario Odyssey and Bowser's Fury, as well as the potential of modern hardware. Maybe the time has passed for Galaxy 3, and a lot of people would probably rather clamour for Odyssey 2 instead. I might settle for another 3D All-Star game with Galaxy 2 as part of the package instead though. Sunshine 2 is also possible, but since they haven't done anything with that name in 22 years, it's probably only a very slim chance of it happening. The original Sunshine was ported to the Switch with 3D All-Stars, so I guess the chance is not actually zero? They're much more likely to create a spiritual sequel with an expanded play space and a new story, but with a different title. If we are to believe that Bowser's Fury is the blueprint for how the next game will be structured, Isle Delfino would make sense, with the game being set on various different islands. The seamless, constantly evolving open world without loading screens would be a huge upgrade from the previous entries of the Mario series too. If the Switch 2 has video streaming capabilities thanks to the new GPU it's rumoured to have, it could be entirely possible that Nintendo could bring back the dual screen features like the Wii U. This could open up the possibility of having a Nintendo DS game library within Switch Online. Just think about all of the possibilities with over 3,000 games released on the platform, although that does include all of the garbage shovelware too. It would be nice to get some game libraries for some of the other consoles that aren't on there yet, like the GameCube, which wasn't even on the Wii U Virtual Console either. If we did get DS support on Switch Online, it would be good for flip grip support too. If you don't know what that is, it's a third-party accessory that lets you use your Switch with the Joy-Cons attached in a vertical orientation. Now I'm sure you can see what I'm getting at with this. It would be a much more natural way to play DS games that would also allow the screens to take up more ample room than being scaled down to fit horizontally.
How do you see Game Pass on Switch?
As well as that, it's about time that the classic Pokemon games are put on Nintendo Switch Online. There's already a couple of the spin-off games on the service, but none of the actual mainline games are on there. all of the original games up to Crystal were on the 3DS Virtual Console, so it's not like the Pokemon Company can't physically put these games on new consoles. Am I the only one that thinks the Switch UI is quite boring? It doesn't have much of the charm and the flavour that we were so used to with past Nintendo consoles. Think back to the quirkiness of the Wii, the iconic music that plays when you browse the system. None of that is present on the Switch. It weirdly lacks the fun and whimsy that the old operating systems used to have. There's also a very distinct lack of additional themes for the home menu that lets you personalize your experience. The current home menu feels very sterile and lacks any sort of personality, which could be improved with the reinstating of themes. Back in the day, they used to sell them on the 3DS, and I'm sure there'd be a financial upside on Nintendo's side of things to benefit from adding them again. I think at one point they might have intended this to be a thing, because there is a whole section in the settings just for it, yet there are only 2 choosable options. The ambient music as well that I mentioned earlier leaves the menu feeling very soulless. Like I said before, I've always associated Nintendo consoles with their quirkiness, and I don't feel that as much with the Switch. I understand why people wouldn't want it or don't like it, which is why I think it should be an optional thing for us that would like it. And with stronger hardware on the Switch too, the OS being intentionally lightweight isn't really an excuse for it anymore. They could even integrate the new Nintendo Music app into the operating system, so you could even customize your own home screen even further. The eShop also needs a complete overhaul. It's very slow and terrible to navigate through all of the shovelware and AI slop, and it could do with some ambient music to liven it up, if not a complete renovation from the dated one we have now. Something else that the Switch didn't have was something common with every other modern console: the achievements or trophies system. They already have a pretty easy layup to combine the points you could potentially earn from achievements with the already existing platinum and gold point systems within Switch Online. So you would at least be earning usable points rather than amassing a number solely gained to brag about what you've done. A lot of games are still being designed around being able to collect everything possible, even without actually getting achievements for it, so I don't see why they couldn't implement a simple achievement system in. Again, this could be a completely optional notification that people who don't want them could just completely disable and they won't have to see them. I do have one other wish regarding the operating system. Bring back the Miis! They represented the fun and playfulness that the consoles used to encapsulate, and have become very underutilized after the 3DS generation. With the Switch, they've been buried deep within the console settings. I think that they've tried to move on from the Wii and 3DS era, and try and give the Switch an identity of its own without shoving the company's past identity in your face. It's funny that there are still games you can use the Miis on though. Mario Kart, Smash Bros, and Switch Sports are some of the more popular games that they're usable on, and as well as that, there's also the port of Miitopia, which I'm sure you can guess is a whole game centered around them. Now you might think using these is a bad example, but some social media platforms like Snapchat and Facebook have their own little avatars that are kind of similar to Mii's. I don't think that Mii's would stand out or feel like a Hail Mary bringing back a relic of the past. It's also important to remember how popular the Wii was and the legacy it's left, with a lot of games from that console generation slowly making their return in Switch ports. I would love to see a new Mii Plaza and Creation Suite with actual clothes and more customization than the old ones. It would be perfect for a family-friendly console. Even the 3DS had Street Pass built around them, and plenty of minigames and features with that too. I don't know whether they think that all of the Mii stuff would be too synonymous with the failure of the Wii U, since it was very much at the forefront of that console. Although I do think that the Switch 2 has a much more greater chance of being successful than that console was, so they could absolutely get away with it. You know what? Screw it. Bring back all of the old apps and features. PictoChat, Flipnote Studio, the Forecast channel, the Wii message board, a goddamn internet browser. I want it all back. The Joy-Cons might be one of the most controversial video game controllers of all time. Stick drift caused such a headache for Nintendo that I think they'll probably be using Hall Effect sticks this time around, which are basically immune to drift. As well as that, the controllers have already been made larger. A common complaint with the Switch was the Joy-Cons being too small for adult hands. Now obviously for some games, you could fix that by purchasing additional controllers, but then what is the point in shipping the console with two attached ones if they aren't actually suitable for the players? I'd like to see them innovate more with the designs and colour schemes for the individual Joy-Cons that are sold, as well as special edition Switches. With the increased space on the controllers, they could make even better designs than their special edition Joy-Cons from the last generation. Finally, I think that maybe the most basic wish I have is just simply a 1080p or OLED screen. Obviously, this would have an effect on the battery life, but I think that this would be a game changer for the portable mode. The OLED Switch 1 has been out for 3 years, and there is yet no word about it being a possible option at launch for the new console. The Steam Deck has plenty of customization options with different models you can choose from depending on your need, and I'd like Nintendo to go down the same route with the Switch 2. So those were some things that I'd like to see from the Nintendo Switch 2. I admit some of them are very much based on what I liked from previous console generations returning, rather than brand new innovative features. But that's probably why I'm not being paid to create and develop consoles for Nintendo. If you did get to this part of the video, feel free to let me know in the comments what you want to see most from the Switch 2, especially what you're most interested in learning about from the April 2nd Nintendo Direct. We might even make a video about that when the time comes, we'll see. Even though it's been a long time coming, it's still a little surreal thinking that the Switch 2 will be an actual thing sooner rather than later. Hopefully sooner though, so I can go back and play Pokemon Violet without contracting some sort of eye diseases. Now that backwards compatibility is also officially confirmed, are there any games that you really want to see get a Switch 2 update? Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here today, then maybe consider subscribing to catch our other content as and when it releases.